I've been a coach for over a year now, and I honestly think that compound movements are very overrated for beginners. Don't get me wrong, I still think that they're amazing exercises, but a lot of people put a lot of rational and very logical reasoning to why those beginners should include those exercises in the actual program. But in reality, it shouldn't always be the case. A lot of the times, people are not making progress in the gym, not because they don't have the most optimal or the most beneficial exercise in their training program, but it's a little bit more concerning about they don't really know how to move their body. So whenever I onboard a new client, the first thing that I notice is what type of movement does that client can perform at its best. Do they know how to push something away? Do they know how to actually push the floor down whenever they're doing something leg related like deadlift or squats? Do they know how to actually pull things towards them? All of those movement patterns, they might seem very simple, but they're not so obvious for people that are not used to moving their bodies too much. And not only that, knowing that you're training your movement patterns to actually achieve something that is a little bit more complicated, at least in terms of technique, it gives a sense of achievement. The moment that they go from doing, let's say, a goblet squat to doing an actual barbell back squat, people are a little bit more thrilled than if they went straight to the back squat, because now they feel that to some degree they earned it. I don't really want to say it in a way that it sounds that they shouldn't be squatted or that they don't have the right for it, but it's a little bit more about hitting a big milestone for them. So the first thing that I do when I get new clients is that I acknowledge those movement patterns and see where they're at. So I see if someone has the movement that is a little bit more beneficial for their squats and they really understand those well, but then they don't really know how to pull themselves. So I really focus on really hammering down what those pulling cues should be for that person. In my opinion, as a coach, the funnier and the more individual those cues are for people to understand the basics of back training, for example, is going to be better for them, because it's very like every coach can tell you, oh yeah, you have to move your lat and really squeeze every time that you're hitting that rotation with your body, and that really doesn't really click with people. What you have to say to someone that's barely training and that they don't really know too much is using day-to-day examples on how they should be training and how they should perform those movements. So for example, my two major cues that I use for training back is that whenever they're doing anything pulling, like really pulling related, they want to stretch their lat as if they're trying to reach something for in the higher shelf. So a lot of my clients are female, and that's where I'm specializing in right now. And the majority of women, they're not so tall. So this example really clicks for a lot of them because they understand and they know what it is to not being tall enough for them to actually reach to that higher shelf, because you have to do that extra stretch that it comes only from your shoulder blade. And the second one is that when you're actually pulling, I want them to squeeze their back as much as possible. And what I want them to think is that they're gonna have to crack a neck in the middle of their back just when the movement finishes. That's a very simple couple of cues that can help a lot of people to understand a little bit better the movement pattern of what a rowing movement or a pulling movement overall should feel like. Don't get me wrong, in theory, compound movements are still the best, and I do think that they provide a lot of benefits for the majority of the people that go to the gym, but as the movement says it, they're compound movements. And it's a little bit more complex when you have a complete beginner performing those movements. Yes, they will see the biggest amounts of strength gains and they will progress quicker than any other exercise, but a lot of the time that can create a problem later down the line because they go so compound and so global that people don't really create that mind-muscle connection that is really needed in the long term for you to actually sense what muscles you're actually using. I know it's very obvious if you've been training for a while, but people don't really know what training muscles feels like. People don't really have a lot of soreness experience, so they don't really know how it feels to contract your muscles, to squeeze those muscles, to actually control the eccentric. Those things are not as common as you think. I know that it's very common for you if you watch this video and you already do gym or you do some type of training, but for a lot of people it's not. I'm talking to the people that have barely even put a foot inside the gym, and they are so scared of actually performing any type of exercise that they don't ever do anything. Those are the type of people that should focus only on any type of exercise that they want to do. But in my opinion, the best ones that they can do is the isolation exercises that will make them feel that they're actually training a little bit more. Because when you go for a compound movement, you kind of go for a jack of all trades and you don't really focus on just one, or at least in one specific muscle. So you don't really get a super big soreness. And it's important to understand that connection that you're feeling, that, oh, when I'm doing bicep curl, when I do this, the next day, this part of my body is going to hurt because I'm doing this movement. Same thing, when I'm doing a pull-up, I'm here, I'm bringing myself up. Oh, so what's going to hurt is my lats. Step by step, you kind of like start to understand how your movements and how your body actually work. How I like to tackle the compound movements is that I like to think of them as proper recipes. So let's use the example of a barbell squat. For me, a barbell squat is divided into two main type of movements. Number one is maintaining that verticality when you're doing a high bar squat on the way down, and that you want to keep your upper body tight, you want to maintain a stable foot positioning, and you want to essentially keep yourself tight while the bar is going down. That's part one. And second part is to actually push the floor away. It sounds dumb, but a lot of people don't really understand what pushing the floor away means until you have to put them into a leg press machine or something that they actually have to really push something in another direction, and that's when they start to internalize, oh, so this is the type of pushing that you were talking about. Once that I split the squat into those two movements, in the longer term, maybe in a couple of months, people are going to be able to understand much better when they transition to back squat what I am actually telling to. Again, a combination that I like to use is that if I'm using a park squat, I'm gonna go for a goblet squat to teach them how to maintain that verticality, and I'm gonna go for a leg press to teach them how to push the floor away. In the end, this is just my opinion and my experience as a coach. I only can speak from the personal experience that I've had with the majority of my clients, that they've all successfully squatted and they're growing stronger and stronger week by week. And again, you in the end have to do whatever is best for you. I'm only posting this type of content because I believe that it can be of help for some people out there that they don't really know where to start, especially women that tend to have so many problems on confidence in the gym, and that I know that it can be a really intimidating place. So hopefully you'll find some value in this video. It will really help me if you can drop some likes and comments, and please subscribe to my channel. And if you have any other type of questions or any other type of help that I can give you, you can just contact me, you can just comment below or send me a DM on Instagram, whatever you prefer, okay?